My name is Ariana Blake. I'm 29 years old. Last night I saw something I was never supposed to see. My father, 50 years old, married for decades, was sitting in a restaurant holding another woman's hand like nothing else existed. He was smiling, relaxed, happy. Like he didn't have a family waiting at home. My chest tightened. I couldn't breathe. For a second I thought I was imagining it. But I wasn't. So I did something I never thought I'd do. I pulled out my phone, hit record, and sent the video to my mother. 15 minutes later she walked into that restaurant. And what happened next changed everything. It started as a simple night out. Life had been overwhelming lately, work, responsibilities, stress piling up. My husband and I barely had time for each other anymore. So I told him, let's go out tonight. Just us. He looked surprised, then smiled. A real dinner? I nodded. No phones. No work. Just us. We chose a beautiful restaurant, soft lighting, candles on every table, slow music in the background. The kind of place where people leaned closer, spoke softer, and held hands a little longer. We were seated in a quiet corner. Good choice, he said, smiling. I wanted something special, I replied. And for the first time in weeks, it felt like we could breathe again. We talked about everything except stress. Old memories, small moments, the early days of our marriage. Remember our first year? He asked. I laughed. When we argued over everything? And still made up 10 minutes later, he said. I smiled, nodding. At one point he reached across the table and held my hand. Felt familiar. Comforting. The kind of love I had grown up watching. Because my parents had always been like that. Even after all those years they still laughed together, still sat close, still held hands like they were newly in love. They used to tell us, love doesn't fade if you take care of it. And we believed them. They weren't just our parents. They were the example. Which is why what I saw next felt impossible. I glanced around the room, just casually looking at the other tables. Then my eyes stopped. At first it didn't register. Just a familiar figure. So I looked again. And everything inside me froze. It was him. My father. Sitting at a candlelit table with another woman. Smiling. Leaning in. Holding her hand. My fingers went cold. No, I whispered. My husband immediately noticed. What's wrong? I couldn't speak. I just pointed. He turned and his face changed instantly. We sat there in silence, both of us staring, trying to make sense of something that didn't make sense at all. Because this wasn't just shocking. It was wrong. My father loved my mother. Everyone knew that. We had seen it our entire lives. In the way he looked at her, the way he cared for her, the way he chose her every single day. No. This. Right in front of me. My heart started racing. I need to record this, I whispered. My hands were shaking as I picked up my phone. My husband leaned closer. Are you sure? I swallowed hard. I have to, I said quietly. Because even I don't believe what I'm seeing. I slowly opened my camera and started recording. My father, smiling, talking, holding another woman's hand. It all felt surreal, like I was watching a stranger's life unfold instead of my own. My hands trembled as I captured every second. After a few moments I stopped recording, staring at the video with disbelief. Without overthinking it, I sent it to my mother. My fingers hovered over the send button before I finally typed, Mom, you need to see this. The moment I pressed send, everything changed. There was no turning back. We sat in tense silence, watching my father, waiting. Every second stretched endlessly as I checked my phone, but no reply came. My heart pounded in my chest. When my husband quietly asked, what if she doesn't come? I didn't answer. Deep down I knew she would. Minutes crawled by until finally the restaurant door opened. I looked up and my breath caught. It was my mother. Her eyes swept the room slowly, scanning every table until they landed on him. In that moment I realized nothing would ever be the same. She didn't rush. She didn't yell. She didn't create a scene. She simply stood at the entrance for a few tense seconds, her gaze fixed on my father, cold, unblinking, and unshakable. Then deliberately she began walking toward him. Each step echoed sharply across the restaurant, her heels clicking against the floor, heavy and measured. My father remained unaware, still smiling, still talking to the woman in front of him. And then he looked up. The moment his eyes met hers, everything shifted. His smile vanished. His hand slowly withdrew from the other woman's grasp. The woman glanced at him confused, then turned to see what had captured his attention, and saw my mother. Silence fell. The air around them thickened. My mother finally stopped in front of the table. For a heartbeat nobody spoke. Then she said softly but sharply, "So this is where you've been." Her voice wasn't raised, but it carried weight, authority, and a cold precision that cut through the quiet. My father opened his mouth but no words came out. "I've been watching you," she continued, eyes locked on his face. Weeks of observation, unspoken tension, years of disappointment were all there. The restaurant had gone quiet. People were noticing, staring. "You've been distant," she said slowly. "Quiet. Always busy. Always on your phone, smiling at something that isn't me." My chest tightened. My father didn't interrupt, didn't flinch. "When I come home," she pressed on, her voice trembling slightly, "you don't even look at me anymore." Her words hung in the air. There was a small, broken laugh, half disbelief, half grief, and then her gaze shifted toward the woman sitting at the table. Now I could see it clearly. The woman looked uncomfortable, shifting in her seat, unsure where to place her hands. My mother's voice cut through the silence, breaking but steady. "I gave you everything," she said, each word weighted with years of hurt. "My time, my love, my life." Her eyes glistened with tears. "I trusted you." The restaurant had gone completely still. Even the waiters paused mid-step, trays in hand. My father didn't interrupt. He just stood there taking it in. "And this is what I get?" she whispered, her voice barely audible. "This." A tear slid down her cheek. She took a breath, trying to steady herself. "If you want her," she said, her voice trembling but sharp, "then fine. You don't have to hide it anymore." She stepped back slightly. "I'll leave." The air felt like it had stopped moving. Even I held my breath. For a moment I couldn't process anything. Her words were too real, too raw. And my father, he didn't deny anything. That made it worse. The silence stretched until my father finally moved. He rose slowly from his chair, the scrape of wood against floor echoing through the room. All eyes turned to him. He looked at my mother, not angry, not guilty, just calm. And somehow that calmness made the moment feel heavier, more intense. He stepped toward her. "The woman sitting here," he began, pausing deliberately, "is my best friend's wife." For a moment no one reacted. My mother blinked, her face a mixture of confusion and disbelief. "What?" she whispered. At that instant, a man approached from behind the woman. He stepped forward, gently holding her hand. Everyone froze. He looked directly at my mother and said calmly, "She's my wife." The atmosphere shifted instantly. Whispers spread like wildfire. My mind spun, trying to process what was happening. My mother's anger faltered, giving way to confusion. My father turned back to her, his voice calm but firm. "You said you gave me everything," he said. "Your time, your love, your life." He shook his head slowly. "Say that again," he added carefully. My mother stayed silent, her confidence and fury beginning to crumble, replaced by doubt, and something heavier. Guilt. He stepped closer. "I haven't had even 1 hour of your time in months," he said quietly. Not accusing, just stating the truth, and that made it cut deeper. The restaurant remained frozen in that silence. No one moved. No one spoke. All eyes were on them. He continued, soft but unrelenting. "I tried. I really tried. I asked so many times, let's go out. Let's sit together. Let's talk like we used to." My mother's eyes welled with tears. He paused, looking at her directly. "But every time you said you were busy. Busy with your business, your meetings, your work." She lowered her gaze. "I understood," he said quietly. "I told myself it's okay. But days turned into weeks, weeks into months." He didn't raise his voice. He didn't shout. And maybe that's why it hurt even more. "I started feeling like I didn't exist in your life anymore," he said, and those words landed like a weight in the room. My mother's lips trembled. "I would sit next to you and you would still be somewhere else," he continued, his voice steady, heavy, resolute. Her tears fell freely now, a mixture of sorrow, realization, and guilt. "I thought maybe if I acted differently," he began, then hesitated. "So I started pretending," he continued, his voice steady but heavy. "I acted distant. Pretended to be busy. Pretended to smile at my phone. His eyes flicked to my mother. I thought, maybe you would notice. My mother closed her eyes for a moment, letting the weight of his words sink in. But you didn't, he said quietly. Silence fell again, thick and suffocating. I ignored you sometimes, he added softly, because it hurt so much, but I still love you. For the first time that night I saw him show emotion, raw, unguarded, human. My mother's composure cracked. A single tear rolled down her cheek, then another. I didn't want to do this, he said, his voice trembling just slightly. But I didn't know what else to do. He paused, scanning the room as if weighing his next words. So tonight, I made a plan. My heart skipped a beat. He glanced at me. I knew she would come here tonight. I slowly nodded, my chest tight. My mother looked at him, disbelief written across her face. I didn't tell her everything, he continued, his voice calm but deliberate. I just made sure she would see this. The realization hit her like a punch. This was all planned, she whispered. Yes, he said, simple and unshakable. I wanted you to feel it, he continued, locking eyes with her. To feel what it's like to be ignored. To feel replaced. To feel like you don't matter anymore. Each word landed slowly, like stones dropping in water. My mother's shoulders slumped. Her anger, her strength, all of it crumbling in slow motion. I didn't realize, she whispered, voice thick with regret. I thought I was doing everything for us. I thought if I worked harder, gave more time to the business, it would make our life better. He shook his head gently. But we were losing us. The weight of that sentence hung in the air, heavier than anything else in the room. No one spoke. Then, tentatively, my mother stepped closer. Her hands trembled. I'm sorry, she said, her voice breaking completely. I didn't see it. I didn't see you. I didn't know you felt this way. My father stayed silent for a moment, letting her words settle. Then his expression softened. I never wanted to hurt you, he said, his voice finally cracking with emotion. I just wanted my wife back. Even I couldn't hold back my tears. The restaurant remained silent, but now it felt different. Not tense, but profoundly emotional. My mother reached out, holding his hand tightly. I'm here, she whispered. I'm not going anywhere. He looked at her hand, then back at her face, and slowly intertwined his fingers with hers. That small gesture, so simple, so human, felt monumental. The pain, the misunderstandings, the distance between them, all of it finally cracking open. The people around them slowly turned away. This moment wasn't for anyone else. It was theirs. I sat there quietly, heart heavy but strangely light, because the story hadn't ended the way I feared. It hadn't destroyed a family. It had saved one. Sometimes love doesn't end. It just gets lost. And sometimes, it takes seeing the truth, feeling the pain, to find it again. That night, I didn't just witness the truth. I understood it. Relationships don't break suddenly. They fade slowly, quietly when we stop noticing each other. But if both people are willing, they can find their way back. Even after everything. And that's exactly what happened that night.